สวัสดีครับ Say hi to คุณ Andy Timmons. Nice to see you again in Thailand. Thank you so much.
Great to be back here, and of course, great to be back bringing my band for the first time.
นี่คือผมอยู่กับคุณ Andy Timmons นะครับสุดยอดมือกีตาร์นะครับแล้ววันนี้ผมจะสัมภาษณ์เขาหลายๆเรื่อง This is the first one. What is the story or the concept behind the recovery?
You know, when I started what was becoming the record, I didn't have a particular direction. I didn't have a title or a concept. But as the songs came to fruition, and I recognized as I was, titling the songs, and songs like "Why Must It Be So," "Where Did You Go," the title track "Recovery." I realized the music that I was writing was very much to heal myself, and to recover means to get back to your healthier or original state. So the term recovery can very much reflect people that are going through addiction issues, be it alcohol or drugs. You can call that being in recovery. I've had my issues there, but also just for me, a lot of my life has been in recovery, just emotional, issues that I've had. I've dealt with depression most of my life, but the music has always helped me heal. It's always been my solace, just listening to music from my very earliest memories as a child. It was kind of my safe place. But then as I became a musician and the more and more I was capable of expressing myself through my instrument, it really became even more a place for me to be and to just write the music and play the music that I needed. And then if it connects with other people and can help them, then that's true success for me. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people in this world are hurting. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of tumult, a lot of friction. And so music can really help heal that in a lot of ways. So that's what I hope people get from my music in general. But this record especially starts off very selfishly though. It's what I needed. It's what I needed to write. It's what I wanted to hear to make myself feel better. And if it resonates with other people, then I'm very happy.
Yeah. Okay. So for this album, I'm so amazing with everything, the sound from your guitar, from when you recording in the studio. What is the process when you record your guitar? The sound so big and beautiful and very sonic.
Thank you. Well, the basic tracks for the band I did at Josh Smith's studio. The great guitar player friend of mine that plays with Joe Bonamassa. He produced the Electric Truth record.
Your previous album.
The previous album. So this is also kind of a follow-up to that record where it's the same band. It's Lamar Carter on drums, Travis Carlton on bass, and Darren Johnson on keyboards, and then Josh kind of helping arrange. But so just the basic tracks were done there. Then when I went back to Texas, and I recorded all the guitars in my studio. So if you're curious about the gear that I used, or you're curious about the recording process, I mean, it's basically either two Mesa Lone Stars or two Marshall Plexis.
The Marshall Plexi, this is original one, or no?
Okay, yeah. So the two Plexis that I'm using, one is the original 1968 Super Lead. The other side of it is a Suhr, S-U-H-R, John Suhr. It's a Suhr SL68. So it's basically an identical plexi circuit to what I'm using in my vintage, and it sounds really great. So I'll use those loud and clean with my pedals. But both of those are feeding 2x12 Mesa Boogie rectifier cabinets, both loaded with vintage 30 Celestians. So it's either the two Marshall circuits or the two Lone Star circuits with pedals and feeding those, and then SM57 way on the outside of the cone, Neve 1272 preamps, and then feeding that into the digital audio workshop.
Really amazing. One thing for the energy for Jeff. When I listen to this song, I feel wow. Andy, you bring Jeff back again. So I love Wife. I love your praying. I love the reverb or something. Yeah.
Well, so that's the one song that I did. I used a different amp. So I have a Jeff Beck signature Strat that I got. I bought it online just to see what it was like, and I never used it. But I thought for the song that I wrote for Jeff, maybe I could use his guitar. And I read that my favorite Jeff Beck record is a record called Emotion and Commotion, released in the 2000s. I heard he used a Fender Pro Junior, this little tiny amp on the record. So that's what that sound is. That's a Jeff Beck signature Strat into that little Pro Junior, just clean. And then I added my Keeley Halo at
your signature.
My signature. Okay. So that's because that's my sound, Okay. So I added that at the soundboard and to get that sound.
Oh, so amazing.
So I mean, I will never try to play or sound like Jeff, but because it was his song and I wanted to start the record with that, it just felt right to try to use some similar gear.
So I feel this album from your album Recovery. I feel something like it's almost being the metal style. If you add the double pedal or you use it very high gain for your guitar.
Oh, so there's some bit more rock and roll.
Yeah, it's very metal style.
There's some heavier rock on there because as I grow and as I evolve as an artist and as a musician, I never want to, ignore my roots and where I come from. It's all part of me. And then if I find that I want to let some of that, like the song Between Brothers, it's a bit more rock and roll.
Love and Hate.
Love is Greater Than Hate. It's got some heavy rock. And sometimes that energy is necessary, and I like to let that out. When I did the Electric Truth record for Josh, I was kind of leaning towards his world, a little bit more funk and R&B and blues. But so this is kind of a part 2 to that record, but it's more me in my own lane a little bit, But so those records are fun to do, but now we're working on a new Andy Timmons band record. So that'll be with Mike Dane. I've been working with Mike on the bass and in the studio since 1988. So we have lots of material to put to put down and record. And Rob Afsharian on the drums. So it's the same band that'll play tonight. Will be the band on the next record.
You pass every era from 80 until now. Every era is there is a lot of things like metal style, like shredder, like very various sounds. Nowadays we have the polyphia sound that everyone loves polyphia. In your opinion, how did you find your sounds? How did you change? Okay, yes, I know I have to change my sound from the shredder, from the danger until now.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of that tone still in what I do. Like there's some stuff in Between Brothers, I think as I spoke earlier, there was never an effort. There was never a conscious, I have to do this. I never want to be in a position where I feel like I have to do anything. What you get on my records is me being as authentic of a version of me as I can be. And what I mean by that is I take all these different influences. There's things influenced on my records from the Beatles to Chopin, in the way that I hear melodies, in the way that I write music. But I've listened to, of course I love the shredder guitars. I'm trying to become known in the 80s, Joe Satriani and Steve Vai and Eric Johnson a little later were big heroes. But before that, it was all Ace Frehley and Ted Nugent and Rush and Kiss and all those 70s bands. But I love all the 60s and 50s and 40s too. I've studied a lot of jazz, all the great bebop, early guys like Wes Montgomery and, Barney Kessel and Joe Pass. And I'm like, all I've listened to on this tour is Charlie Parker. Because at a certain point, way before Danger, I was obsessed with jazz, and I learned all of so many of Charlie's tunes and his solos the best I could. Because I knew it was important to get influences from not just guitar but from other instruments. And my study of jazz certainly informs everything that I do, even in the rock world. There's a bit of swing in what I'm doing. Everything swings a little bit, and my concept of voice leading in the melodies that I like to hear it's somewhat influenced by the pop things, but it's very influenced by voice leading in jazz and how it's necessary to navigate chord changes. You can't just shred in a key. You have to know where you're going, and so I think that at some point gives my playing some direction and their shape. Because of listening to Charlie Parker and Cannonball Adderley, it's not just there's very much a dynamic shape if you listen to what I'm doing. It all adds up to me, but I don't ever go, I gotta do this or I have to sound like that. It's just a joyful journey. And there's going to be another solo record I put out that will have all my solo pieces on it, like Here Lies the Heart and things that are similar to Elegy for Jeff, where it's just simple melody and chords. I've been releasing singles over the past year. A song called Valsa Morendo, a song called Here Lies the Heart, of course, a song called Our Requiem. And very much coming from that Chopin influence. We'll see where it goes. But I can be very proud of each part of my career and look back. And there was, when COVID was, happening in 2020, 2021, I started doing live broadcasts on a platform called Stage It. It's where I could go play online, had backing tracks, and people could log in from all over the world and come hang out with me. So I was doing all my original material. I would sometimes just grab an acoustic guitar and play Beatles, but people were requesting Danger Danger. So I didn't have backing tracks, so I would play the record, but I would play my parts. I would play along with it. But it kicked my ass. I had to relearn how to play some of these shreddy solos. But it was nice for me to be able to go back and visit 24-year-old Andy and see what I was doing. And it reminds me of a certain type of thing. But it's not what I listen to. It's not like I'm listening to that music every day.
You mentioned too about you playing jazz. One thing maybe back to 6 or 7 years ago, you play with Mimi Fox.
Oh yeah,
I love your playing so much.
Oh, thank you.
And then one day I have some chance to listen to your album. I'm not sure how to spell it. Bossa hit. You play with a Sydney cover. Yeah, it's so amazing because there is two sound with a nylon and electric guitar. It's so hard. Everyone know it's very hard to balance.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
It's interesting because that all happened. I was doing some guitar master classes in Brazil, and I endorse a Brazilian pedal. The company's called G&I. I use their Octafuzz, a little Hendrix kind of tone. But Sydney is a representative for that company, and he travels with me. We've known each other since 1999. We've known each other forever. Really sweet person, amazing guy. And we were doing, we were going to play a series of clinics. And I said, we're in Brazil. I would love to play some Bossa Nova because we're in Brazil and that's the music from there. He goes, well, I play Bossa Nova. Yeah. So he's a shredder, like, fusion rock.
Yeah.
But he knows Bossa Novas very well. And says, yeah, my daughter sings Bossa Nova. My wife sings Bossa Nova. So yeah, let's play a song every day. And we played some Bossa hits, and Roberto Menescal and another famous bossa artist, saw our videos and said, hey, that's really, really cool. And Roberto wrote one of my favorite bossa nova songs called O Barquinho. That was a hit for Charlie Bird back in the early 60s. So he invited us to his studio to record an album because he heard what we were doing with the nylon and my electric. But yeah, so my instinct was I was trying to play it a bit more like Pat Metheny, a little cleaner sound, because Pat's a big influence on me, and he's been influenced quite a bit, I would say, by Brazilian music too. And so I was kind of approaching it like that, and they go, no, you bluesy neck pickup, just be you. And so that's how that happened. So it was kind of, Roberto Menescal and Sydney encouraged me to play more in my own voice instead of trying to be, what I've heard other people do. And so that's why that record is kind of unique. But again, it was such an honor for Menescal to invite us to his studio on an island off of Rio de Janeiro. And he was one of the guys that invented the style, along with oh my gosh, obviously Jobim and I'm forgetting the main guy. These great artists that helped form that style. Roberto Menescal was Joe Gilberto.
Joe Gilberto,
the great, and his wife Astrid, of course, who sang Ipanema. But yeah, Joe Gilberto and Carlos Lira and Menescal were the people that kind of put this music together. So to be asked by him to come to his studio was a dream. It really was.
I hear in this album you use the sound from the overdrive a little bit.
Oh, there's a little bit of overdrive. Yeah. It's basically my Keeley blues driver. That's the pedal that we've modified many times now. That's my signature Mark III driver for Keeley. Yeah.
Okay, for today, I have some chance to see your new guitar, AT300 from the Ibanez.
Yes.
Okay, how come the idea?
Well, basically, they've got their AZ line, which has got the roasted necks, and they asked me if I would want to do another version of my guitar. So there was a guitar that we made called the AT300 in the 2000s, and that's the guitar used on the Resolution record. And the difference of that guitar was it was a rosewood fingerboard and a mahogany body. So whereas my main AT100 is the alder body, maple neck, the classic Strat kind of construction, the mahogany and the rosewood is more that Les Paul heavy.
Why?
It's a warmer, fatter sound. The maple, I prefer if I had to choose one guitar, it would be my AT100 because the feel of the maple, I feel there's more of an intimacy, but it's a brighter sound. Now the rosewood has a bit warmer sound, and the mahogany body's got a punchier forward rock kind of sound. But this guitar is unique as opposed to those two guitars. On the original AT300, the pickups we had mounted straight into the body for even more kind of punch and thud, but we decided to use the pick guard. So it's really kind of a middle ground between the AT100 and the old AT3. So it's really its own voice. And on the record, I use this on Love Is Greater Than Hate and parts of Recovery. So I use this on, when we play live, I use this on some of the Resolution record because it's got that kind of sound. It's a very, very different than the AT100 because of that mahogany and the rosewood.
So when we talk about the Ibanez Strat, Super Strat, the first one guitar player that bring the versatile or something about the real sound from the Ibanez Strat.
Yeah,
I think it's you.
Well, yeah, I mean, thank you. It was when we started working together. It was 1991. They came to me and said, "Well, we want to build you your ultimate guitar. What would you like us to build?" And I really didn't know what my ultimate guitar was. So we went through a period of 3 years just trying. They sent me some USA Customs, which was their high-end, really nice guitars, and we tried a lot of different things. But I had this old parts Stratocaster that Kramer had put together for me several years earlier, and it was just like either Warmoth or Chandler parts, but it had this really nice shaped neck, and I just thought let's start with something like this. And they had their RG body style, so basically the AT100 is kind of an RG body style, but with more of a Stratty kind of thing, but with some things to beef up the bridge, like an actual humbucker, the Wilkinson bridge, and of course locking tuners, just to modernize it a bit, But so that guitar I've been playing for 31 years now, that original AT100. So it's very much, I've been playing it half of my life. It's pretty amazing. But now, and they're always great about wanting to do different things. So this guitar has really been working great for me as well.
Okay, another thing.
Yeah.
Please tell me about it. Hello, Keeley.
Hello. Keeley Halo, yes.
How come the idea for the Hello? And why Keeley?
Very, very, very good question. So I've always been a fan of ambient guitar sounds, especially lead guitar sounds. And it stems back to my earliest musical memory is hearing, because I was born in 1963, and I had an older brother that was 12 years old, and he was buying all the Beatle records when they came out. So the first single in America that really blew up was I Want to Hold Your Hand. The flip side of that 45 was I Saw Her Standing There. And there's a great reverb-drenched guitar solo from George Harrison. And so that sound I've always been attracted to that ambient sound. And then throughout my playing career, I was always finding delays that I like. So especially by the time we got to the Resolution record, I was then very much into the pattern of using 2 echoes at once. And that would be essentially a 500 millisecond and a 375 millisecond dotted eighth quarter pattern that I learned from Simon Phillips because he was working with David Gilmour at some point, and that's what David Gilmour was using. So I was very fond of that sound. But then I started experimenting with different ways of doing it. And on the Resolution record, it's mostly tape echo, either a Maestro EP3 or a full tone tube tape echo. Sometimes a really early Chandler digital echo that had modulation, but getting that sound in. But live, the tape echoes take a lot to keep maintained. So I started using 2 Deluxe Memory Man, Electro Harmonics, Deluxe Memory Man, but feeding into each other. Those are great because it's echo, but they have modulation on the repeats, which can make it sound like an out-of-tune tape echo. It gets kind of chorusy. But those are also kind of volatile units. So when Strymon came out with the timeline, I spent a lot of time. I had my 2 Memory Man echoes, and I got into a dual delay with that. And I always called it was about 91%. It was really good, but it was dependable. And it was digital, but it does 1,000 things, and I just need one sound. And I always had it in the back of my mind. I wish I could find a company to work with to help me get to the sound that I had in my head, because I love the tape, I love the Memory Man, I love more of a reverby kind of sound. And the delays when I have them programmed, I really turn into a reverb. You don't notice all the chatter of the delays. And so I'd done quite a bit of work at that point with Daniel Steinhardt. He designs my gig rig, my pedal switcher, really brilliant guy. And so I went to him to ask him, who would you recommend to help me bring my idea to fruition? He said, without missing a beat, Robert Keeley. And we were at an AM show together. And so we walked right over to meet Robert Keeley. Hi, And we told him the idea. He says, that sounds like a great idea. He's just got this really wonderful energy about him. And so, but that was right before COVID. And so maybe that was 2019. Anyway, it took about 3 years to make it happen. About a year and a half, once we got to start working together, it took a year and a half of a lot of work. And the very fortunate thing is that Keeley is located in Oklahoma City. and I live in North Texas, so we're only 3 hours away driving. So everything that we did, we were in the room together. We could work on something, get it to a place, then we live with it for a while. We need to change this. Then we get back in the room and listen. If you have to collaborate with somebody, through emails, it's like, well, it needs a little more air around it's impossible to communicate what we feel. And we knew we had it when the hair stood up. There it is, so of course I was hoping to get something as good as what I got from the tape, from the Strymon, from the electro harmonics, but we exceeded. We really got it. And it started like the music, it started off just very selfishly for me. It was something that I really wanted. I didn't need all this extra stuff. I just need my one sound. And we got such a great version of it that then I could have never imagined how many people would then resonate with it and want to try it and enjoy it. Because we're seeing it's on Steve Lukather's pedal board. It's on Bob Weir's pedal board, and it's so a lot of great players have resonated with it. So beyond my dreams, but I just wanted my sound. So that's what you'll hear tonight. And the way the echoes go away, you'll think I got a reverb on, but it's not.
Everyone knows you travel a lot and you tour a lot. You don't have the time to warm up before the show. And how did the way to prepare yourself before you show, or the warm up before you show?
I do even if I'm traveling, I play a lot. So if we're at the airport and I've got 45 minutes.
Okay, you pray.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I love it so much. And I even have headphones or whatever before the show, even if I'm just playing something simple, but just to keep the fingers moving, I usually put some kind of app on with the backing track and just play.
Be ready all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice when you're on the road because you're playing mostly every night, so the chops are pretty good shape. But it just makes me want to practice even more because I just want to keep getting better. Like I said, I've been listening to a lot of Charlie Parker, so I was just learning some of his solos. Blues and Nav. This one. He has all these wonderful flowing ideas. So it takes a while. When you learn something, then you have to try to become so familiar with it that you can incorporate it into your playing. You know what I mean? So it takes a lot of repetition and going over and over and just trying to increase, things that I have to draw upon when I'm expressing.
You're a rocker guy. So nowadays, how did you take care of yourself? So because you have to travel a lot, you have to because when you play the rock low, there is a lot of energy.
Yeah. Well, it's not just the show. It's we always do fan events after. We do meet and greets. So that takes as much energy as playing, because every connection I have with a person, I want to give them my full energy and respect. So the days can be very long, and something like today, I'll do a master class before the gig. So that takes, sadly, sleep is usually the commodity that we are most, in need of.
Okay.
So that's why I'm wearing sunglasses today, because my eyes are in bad shape. My apologies for that. Usually I like a more direct connection, but vanity is what it is. But we try to eat very healthy. Nobody really drinks. So we're all, I'm 61 now, so you got to really be.
You look so young all the time.
Thank you. But when I'm home, it's easier because I walk 4 miles every day. First thing of the day, I practice, have some coffee, and I go for my walk, and then the rest of the day, whatever work needs to be done. But again, you don't have that kind of time. The guys like the treadmill in the hotels. That's hard on my back, so I can't do it. But I got out and took a walk last night, explored around the hotel in Bangkok. It's always beautiful to see the area and the different culture. That's what we're so blessed. We get to travel and see some beautiful countries, and so the people are so beautiful in Thailand. We love it here so much. Happy to have the band. Hope to get to come back many times.
Okay, for the last one.
Yes.
What is the most important thing that guitar player, musician should pay attention, but they are not?
Most important thing they should pay attention, but they're not.
Yeah.
Well, tuning. To be able to play a pure note in tune, and to be in the middle of the note, because you can shred like crazy, but if you if your tuning isn't great, and that's just Tommy Emmanuel said that to me. That's what separates the men from the boys, or the men or the women from the girls, is tuning. You know, and he is very in tune. Eric Johnson is very in tune. There's very few that are very in tune.
Okay.
This is a little humble brag, but the last time I saw Steve Vai, and we've been friends for years, he was playing with Adrian Belew and doing the King Crimson show, and he paid me a great compliment. He said, "You're very in tune." He said that to me because he was saying about himself, I press too hard. I'm not in tune. He's very in tune as well. It was a big compliment for a master like Steve to tell me that, because I don't think I'm in tune. I'm not. But I'm very aware of it, you know, and I try really hard. But you know, the guitar is an imperfect instrument. In our physicality, it's hard, you know, 'cause technique being what it is. But it takes a lot of time and effort to really make sure you're bending, your vibrato, just a simple fretted note, to be right in the middle of that pitch.
And the last one, go to the store to buy 300.
I mean, I love it, and I hope you love it. Just check it out, man, you know. But I love it so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ibanez. Thank you, Keeley. And thanks to everybody here in Bangkok for putting the show on. Thank you, Toom and Jack, all my friends here. It's been really great.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Too.
Thank you so much.
ขอบคุณครับ
นี่นะครับคือบทสัมภาษณ์ของคุณแอนดี้ทิมมอนนะครับกีตาร์ไทยต้องขอบพระคุณนะครับ GP Entertainment และ Triangle Waves Eco Studio นะครับที่ให้โอกาสได้สัมภาษณ์นะครับถ้ายังไงเทปนี้ผมกับคุณแอนดี้ทิมมอนลาไปก่อนรอพบกับเทปต่อไปผมจะไปสัมภาษณ์มือกีตาร์ท่านไหนเทปนี้ลาแล้วครับสวัสดีครับ